We are still in Business Literacy, Module 3, and we are going to have a look at Part 3 now, which is all about meetings. So without any further ado, let's get going. Okay, spoken communication, Part 3, meetings. Here we go. So we have different types of meetings. I'd like us to have a look at that first. So we get both private meetings and public meetings. A private meeting in terms of an organization can be the members of the organization. A family meeting could be a private meeting, or private meeting can happen by invitation. You get a couple of friends together for a meeting to discuss something and you invite them. Then a public meeting is open to all. It is normally when we address socio-economic or political issue, and really it is the general public who attends it. But we are more going to have a look at private meetings in this model. So what are the purpose of the meetings? It is to get people together so that we can discuss common matters and attempt to achieve a resolution to that. And those resolutions can either be in form of decisions taken or actions that we decide on, and it is a means of formal communication. Now, private meeting types. Now, some of the stuff that we looked at before, like brainstorming and problem solving and briefings and consulting and decision making and information sharing, all of those are different types of private meetings. Nia said, let's take a look at each of these. We're not going to, because we had a look at each of these already. Now, where do the meetings happen? Where do they occur? Well, it depends on the platform. It can be interpersonal, in which case it happens in the boardroom. And of course, in case of war, it will happen in a war room. Or it can be tech-driven. We can have telephone conferences, we can have video conferences, we can have a meeting using a platform like Zoom or Teams and use the interactive whiteboards. And yeah, so those are the different platforms on which we can have the meetings. With regard to the rules, we have to agree on the format and the procedure. And then, of course, we have to follow that procedure. It is important to appoint a chairperson so that somebody can have control over the meeting and we don't have too many people trying to direct the meeting. We must really try to avoid general discussion. So as far as we can, we should keep an agenda. Don't interrupt somebody when it's their turn to speak. Listen to everybody in the meeting. Keep it short. And don't get personal. This is not a meeting which we get personal. Even if you disagree vehemently with somebody, it is still not the time to get personal. In terms of the documentation that is part of the procedure, well, the notice must be sent to everybody, normally about 2 weeks in advance. But depending on the type of meeting, it can be shorter. Then we must have an agenda and try to keep to it as far as possible, or else the meeting is going to descend into chaos. And then, of course, we take minutes so that we actually have a good record of what was decided at such a meeting. Now, I said to you already that meetings is all about enabling those who attend the meeting to make decisions. And this is how we will do it. We will have a discussion or somebody will do a presentation, and out of that there will be a proposal. Now you need one person to actually make the proposal, and then you need somebody to second the proposal. Now at that time you can already go over to the vote. Unlikely, most likely the answer is somewhere in the middle, and then we go over to amendments. And then we will first vote on the amendments by way of a secondary vote, and only then will you move on to a final vote. Now, here's the important thing about the final vote, guys. If you are part of a formal meeting, a properly constituted meeting, and it goes over to the vote, and you are in the minority, maybe it goes to vote and it is 7 against 3 in a meeting of 10 people. If you're one of those 3, you are bound by the decision of that meeting as much as the people who actually voted yes. So once the meeting is done and the vote is casted, you are going to the public again as a collective, and then you don't tell anybody, well, I was actually against it, because you are part of the meeting and the vote is final. Now, who are typically involved in the meeting? So we have meeting officers and their duties. And the 2 most important people that will always be appointed at any meeting is the chairperson and the secretary. So what does the chairperson do? The chairperson is the person who set the agenda. He will, of course, consult with others, but he, in the end, will set the agenda. He will lead the meeting. He is the one that is responsible for maintaining order. So he keeps to the rules, he makes sure that all the procedures are followed, and he is the one who ensures fairness and equality. I keep saying he, of course, there can be a lady chairperson as well. Just when I speak, I apologize to all the ladies. The chairperson is also the person who, after the meeting, will represent the group publicly, and he will approve the formal minutes by looking at whether they are correct and truthful and whether they are fair representation of the minutes. Now, in the meeting itself, the minutes of the previous meeting will be read, and it will be proposed that that be accepted, but it is still the chairperson's signature that will be on that meeting minutes. The secretary is really there to support the chair and help the chair. It is the chairperson who organized the meeting and thus sends out the notice of the meeting. It is the secretary that takes the minutes, that keeps the records and do the admin. Also up to the secretary to make sure that all legal requirements are upheld, that if there is any communication, correspondence that must be entered into based on decisions taken at the meeting, that he or she does so. The secretary is also a source of information and a reference point. So the secretary is vitally important. The chairperson, possibly the most important, but the secretary closely on his or her heels. And then we can have optional officers like a timekeeper or sergeant at arms if the meeting is a little bit better and the chairperson doesn't know that there's going to be trouble. He might appoint a sergeant at arms to actually take control over the meeting and maintain the order. Then it is something that he or she does not have to do. Let's have a look at some meeting terminology. There's much more of these terms in your textbook, but I'm only looking at these really because these are the most important ones, and I have kind of grouped them together so that you have certain types of terms coming together here, and it's just easier to memorize it if we do it like this. So we have a look. One first thing we have is a constitution. The constitution is the document that sets out the governing rules of an organization, and everything that happens must be in line with the constitution. So the meeting can't now go ahead and take a decision that is not in line with the constitution. Once again, the secretary is the one who's to remind the people that what they are about to do is possibly unconstitutional. Also the chairperson, but at least those 2 functionaries should be experts on the constitution. The standing orders are the rules that govern how the meeting specifically should be run. Okay, so it's actually reduced to paper so that nobody can say, I don't like that rule, because everybody accepts it. Then we have those meeting documents. Again, the notice, which is the invitation to the meeting, the agenda, which is the list and the order of the items that they are to be discussed in. And it is important to both keep to the items on the list and keep to its order. And if you're going to change the order, then you must inform the people in the meeting that you are changing the order. The minutes is the formal written record of a meeting. And then some other terms there, apologies. that is formal notification of inability to attend the meeting. So if you can't attend the meeting, you will inform the secretary before the time formally, and then it is noticed as such on the minutes. Business arising. These are the matters that was discussed at the previous meeting, but that were not concluded or not finished. And so they might have to be discussed again. If it is a lengthy issue, that certain point of business in business arising could be on the agenda for a very long time. Items, these are the things to be discussed at the meeting. We call those items. And other business is then an opportunity to discuss something that is not on the agenda. Although I said to you, we are actually trying to keep other and general to a minimum, or else our meetings will continue very long, and we don't like that. Okay. Meeting terminology 2. Okay, in order for a meeting to take place, there must be a quorum. The quorum is the minimum number of members needed for a meeting, and it's normally 50 plus 1 or 50% plus 1. So really, if you have a meeting that has 10 members, then you require at least 6 in order for there to be a quorum. If there is 100, then you are going to 50% is 50 plus 1 is 51. Then you're going to need 51 people to have a quorum. The mover is the person who proposes a motion. Okay, and a motion is, I propose that we do something. I'm going to explain that now. And then you have the person who seconded it, the seconder. And that is someone who formally supports the mover of a motion. And when an issue is discussed like this and the motion is entered into, the secretary must note it, who the mover was, as well as who the seconder was, and that must be taken down in the minutes. So what is a motion? A motion is a proposal that is discussed and voted on. An amendment is simply a proposed modification to a motion. So somebody could say, you know what, I like your motion, but I'm not entirely satisfied with the wording. Can we amend it like that? And then the motion is amended, and then the amended motion is what we will vote on, and most likely will be accepted. Then consensus. A consensus is a decision that is acceptable to all the members, so no vote is taken. Now, in a small group, the aim is always to reach consensus so that you don't have to go over to a vote. But in order to reach consensus, your discussions might continue until late in the night. A point of order is a formal complaint to the chairperson at a meeting. And the way you introduce a point of order, you say at the point of order, say point of order. And then the chairperson is supposed to stop the meeting, stop those who is speaking, and first hear your point of order. Okay. But now please remember, guys, it is only the chairperson who can bring the meeting or discussion to a stop or to a pause. Nobody else. You can't say as a member of the meeting, hey, you've spoken for long enough now. Okay. If timekeeping is a problem in the meeting, then somebody, like I said before, can just be appointed as a timekeeper. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. And then next time we will look at presentations. Thank you.